Section 1. Welcome to the Woods. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're settling in for the night, pulling the blanket a little tighter, adjusting the pillow just so, then you've come to the right place. Tonight, we're going somewhere that feels like the edge of a map, somewhere that sits north of normal and just a little west of weird. We are going to Gravity Falls, Oregon, and we are going to stay there for a good long while. Now, before we really sink into all of this, I want to paint a small picture for you. Imagine it's the summer of 2012. The air is warm. You're maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe somewhere in your 20s, sitting alone in a dim apartment with a bowl of cereal at an unreasonable hour of the night. You flip on the television, and there it is, a cartoon, bright and strange, about a pair of twins named Dipper and Mabel Pines being shipped off to spend the summer with their great uncle in a tiny Oregon town called Gravity Falls. The theme song is catchy in a way that immediately lodges itself somewhere in your brainstem. The animation is crisp and expressive. The jokes land. The monsters are fun and a little unsettling. And at the very end of the opening credits, for just a fraction of a second, there is a page from a journal with a string of scrambled letters on it. Most people watch that pass by and think nothing of it. Maybe it's just atmosphere. Maybe it's just decoration. But here's the thing. Nothing in Gravity Falls is just decoration. That string of letters, if you pause it and know what you're doing with it, decodes to a message. A message that was placed there, right at the very beginning, yet in the very first episode, by a man named Alex Hirsch, who had already planned where this show was going to end. And that message reads, Stan is not what he seems. Think about what that means. Before you know anything about the portal in the basement, before you know that there are two Stans, before you know that Grunkle Stan has been living under a stolen name for 3 decades, quietly maintaining a machine in his basement that could rip a hole in the fabric of reality. The show was already telling you, in the first episode, in the opening credits. It was whispering the answer to one of its own biggest questions before you even knew there was a question to ask. That is what Gravity Falls does. That is what makes it the kind of show that people come back to years and years later and still find new things hiding inside. Alex Hirsch didn't make a children's cartoon. He made a puzzle box the size of a television series, wrapped in bright colors and funny voices and warm family feelings, and he packed every corner of it with secrets. Secrets in the credits, secrets in the backgrounds, secrets in the books and the games and the merchandise. Secrets coded into ciphers and coded inside other ciphers, hidden in audio that plays backwards, scrawled on walls that appear for half a second before a scene cuts away. Secrets that he scattered across the real world, literally, physically, in shrines in Japan and cathedrals in Russia and forest clearings in Oregon. Tonight we're going through 150 of them. One by one, slow and easy, the way a summer evening settles into night. We are not rushing. We are not skipping anything. We are going to spend a long, long time in Gravity Falls, pulling at every thread, peeking around every corner, until this small, strange, beautiful show has given us everything it has to give. So, get comfortable. Let your breathing slow. If you're watching the clock, stop. If you're worrying about tomorrow, you can have tomorrow back in the morning. Right now, there is only this. The pine trees outside the Mystery Shack are very tall and very quiet. The light through the windows is soft and golden. Somewhere in the distance, something is probably watching us with enormous glowing eyes. That's fine. This is Gravity Falls. The monsters here are mostly friendly. Mostly. Now, let's begin. If you're watching this and you've never seen Gravity Falls, first of all, hello, welcome. And also, I have to say that you are in for something truly special when you do eventually sit down with it. But you don't need to have seen it to enjoy tonight because we're going slowly enough that everything will make sense. Think of it as a guided tour through a very peculiar museum. I'll describe everything you need to know as we walk through it. For those of you who have seen the show, whether you watched it when it aired or caught up later or are in the middle of a rewatch right now, you know what we're dealing with. You know the kind of density of detail this show operates at. You've probably already noticed a fair number of the things we're going to cover tonight, but I'll bet there are some in here that will surprise even the most obsessive fan. But because Gravity Falls was made by people who genuinely believed that no detail was too small to be a secret, and no secret was too small to be worth hiding. The show ran for 2 seasons on Disney Channel and Disney XD, premiering on June the 15th, 2012, and concluding on February the 15th, 2016. That's 40 episodes across nearly 4 years of real-world time, all of them adding up to a story that Alex Hirsch had largely planned from the very beginning. The finale answered questions that had been planted in the pilot. The symbols in the opening frame connected to the climax of the series. It was the kind of television that rarely gets made because it requires the creators to know where they're going before they've started moving. And it requires the people in charge to trust them enough to let them do it. Over the course of those 2 seasons, a community of incredibly dedicated fans formed around the show. Not just fans in the casual sense, but fans who built spreadsheets of decoded ciphers. Fans who mapped every background detail. Fans who reversed audio files and listened to the results. Fans who eventually would travel to Japan and Oregon and California to physically find hidden clues that had been left for them in the real world. Gravity Falls inspired the kind of devotion you usually only see around the most obsessive corners of science fiction fandom. And it did it with a show that, on the surface, was aimed at children. That gap between what the show appeared to be and what it actually was is maybe the most interesting thing about it. And tonight we're going to live in that gap, one Easter egg at a time. But before we move on into the deeper water of all these secrets, I want to say something about the format of tonight's video. We're going to go through 150 Easter eggs, hidden details, cryptic messages, and hidden connections. Some of them are tiny and funny. Some of them are genuinely unsettling. Some of them span the entire length of the show. Some of them reach out beyond the show into books, into games, into the real world. We'll cover all of it. I'm going to organize them thematically rather than strictly by episode because I think that's the more interesting way to experience them. It lets us see patterns, lets us follow threads, lets us understand why certain things were hidden where they were. We'll move through the opening credits first, then through the Cipher system, and then through all the ways the show hid its own future right in front of your face. We'll get into the pop culture references, the personal touches from Alex Hirsch, the twin connections, the real-world extensions of the show's mythology. By the end, we'll have covered every corner of the Mystery Shack and quite a few of the dark woods surrounding it. Settle in. Let's start at the very beginning. Before we dive into all 150 of these, I'd love it if you dropped a comment below with where and when you're watching this. What time is it where you are? What's the weather doing outside your window right now? There's something really lovely about knowing that people all over the world are here together in these woods tonight. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's free, it takes about 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this little community grow. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's keep going. Section 2. The opening credits. A perfect puzzle in 60 seconds. The opening credits of Gravity Falls are 47 seconds long. 47 seconds in which Alex Hirsch and his team managed to hide more meaningful information than most shows put into entire seasons. Let's slow all the way down and walk through what's actually in those 47 seconds because the sheer density of what's packed in there is remarkable. The theme song itself, composed by Brad Breek with that rolling, slightly melancholic, slightly adventurous feel plays over a montage of images that move quickly enough to feel like a dream. A waterfall, pine trees, a road cutting through forest, Dipper and Mabel arriving on a bus, Stan doing something obviously shady, the Mystery Shack, monsters, mystery, the twins looking out into a sky full of stars. At the very end of the sequence, a series of photographs flutters down across the screen. These are Polaroid snapshots of things we're about to encounter in the show. And if you look carefully, among those Polaroids, you'll see the Hand Witch, the gnomes, the Summerween monster, Gideon, Blendin Blandin in a time travel suit, appearing in the opening credits of an episode that aired months before we were properly introduced to him. And, tucked in behind the witch's hand, barely visible if you're not looking for it, the bottom half of a man's face. That face belongs to Alex Hirsch himself, the creator of the show, hiding in his own opening credits behind a monster. That's Easter egg number 1. Moving on to Easter egg number 2, and this one is more visually obvious once you know about it. There is a single frame, one single frame, in the opening credits that shows a photograph of what is very clearly Bigfoot. And not just any Bigfoot, it's in the same pose, the same stride, as the famous Patterson-Gimlin film footage from 1967, the most iconic Bigfoot footage ever captured or fabricated, depending on your beliefs. It's there and gone in a heartbeat, a single flash of grainy, suggestive footage among the parade of images. Alex Hirsch was a kid who grew up fascinated by roadside attractions and American mythology, and Bigfoot is as deep into that mythology as you can get. So there he is in the first 47 seconds of the show, hiding in plain sight. Easter egg number 3 is one that takes a little more work to notice. At the very end of the credits, right before the episode title card appears, there is a brief shot of what looks like a journal page. On that page, amid some handwritten notes and drawings, is a string of text that scrolls by almost too quickly to read. The text is V W D Q L V Q R W Z K D W K H V H H P V. If you pause and decode that using the Caesar cipher, shifting each letter forward 3 positions in the alphabet, you get Stan is not what he seems. The show's most significant long-term mystery, its most important dramatic reveal, is hiding in the title sequence of Episode 1, encoded in a cipher that the show will teach you how to use over the following weeks. Alex Hirsch planted the answer before the question had been asked. Easter egg number 4 is the reversed whisper. Buried in the audio of the opening credits, playing underneath the theme song, there is a voice. You won't hear it in normal playback. The voice is reversed. It's been flipped backward in the audio track and only becomes comprehensible when you play the sequence in reverse. When fans first discovered this and went back to listen to it played backwards, they heard the words 3 letters back. That's the key, 3 letters back, which is exactly how you decode the Caesar cipher. You shift each letter back by 3 positions. So the answer to how to decode the message in the credits is hidden in the credits themselves, in reversed audio that you'd only find if you already knew to look for it. The hint was inside the hint. The treasure map was inside the treasure chest. Easter egg number 5 is the Konami code. Remember that journal page we just mentioned? The one with the Stan is not what he seems cipher? If you pause on it and examine the rest of the page, there are various scrawls and drawings and symbols. And among them, barely legible, is the Konami code. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A. The classic sequence from early Nintendo games. The cheat code that unlocked 30 extra lives in Contra and became one of the most culturally embedded strings of button presses in the history of video games. It's just there, written in Ford's handwriting on the journal page in the opening credits. No explanation, just a breadcrumb for the people who are paying attention. Easter egg number 6 is the water tower. In one of the establishing shots of Gravity Falls during the opening credits, there's a water tower with the town's name painted on it. In the background behind that water tower, if you look very carefully at the silhouette of the landscape, you can see 2 mountain peaks. Those peaks, that specific double peak silhouette, are the mountains from Twin Peaks. The David Lynch mystery series from 1990 that was one of Alex Hirsch's primary creative influences and which shaped Gravity Falls in profound ways. They're just sitting there in the background, visible for about 2 seconds, a quiet nod from a creator to one of the things that made him who he is. Easter egg number 7 is the Bill Cipher wheel. At the very last frame of the opening credits, there is a flash of a circular diagram. A triangle with a single eye, Bill Cipher, sits at the center, surrounded by a ring of symbols. A pine tree, a shooting star, a 6-fingered hand, a question mark, a pair of glasses, an ice bag, a llama, a pentagram, a crescent, a sewn-up heart. These symbols are positioned around Bill the way planets orbit a star, and each one of them, every single one, represents a specific character in the show. The pine tree is Dipper. The shooting star is Mabel. The 6-fingered hand is Ford. The question mark is Seuss. The glasses are Old Man McGucket. The crescent is Stan. The llama is Pacifica. The pentagram is Gideon. The sewn-up heart is Robbie. The ice bag is Wendy. This wheel, which flashes past in the opening credits of the very first episode, doesn't become narratively meaningful until the series finale, when it's revealed to be the key to defeating Bill. Each of those symbols represents a person who has to stand on a specific point of the wheel for the anti-Bill ritual to work. Like the whole prophecy was encoded in the first frame of the first episode, and most of the characters it represents hadn't even been introduced yet when that first episode aired. Hirsch planned the ending before the beginning had finished being written. Easter egg number 8 is the gravity-defying room. There's a brief sequence in the opening credits where Dipper and Mabel are standing in their attic bedroom at the Mystery Shack, and everything in the room, their furniture, their belongings, themselves, begins to float upward. It's the name of the show made visual. Gravity Falls. The gravity is falling away. It's a lovely, whimsical little visual pun, and it passes so quickly you might not consciously register it as a distinct moment unless you're watching for it specifically. Easter egg number 9 is Alex Hirsch's birthday, embedded in a postage stamp. In one of the many fleeting images in the opening credits, there's a stamp, the kind you might put on an envelope. And if you look closely enough at the number printed on that stamp, it reads 618, which is 618, which is June 18th, which is the birthday of Alex Hirsch and his twin sister Ariel. This is the first appearance of a number that we'll be spending quite a lot of time with tonight, because 618 appears throughout the entire show in a staggering variety of forms. But its very first appearance, the place where it shows up before anything else in the whole series, is in a postage stamp in the opening credits. Easter egg number 10 is the Eye of Providence. Bill Cipher himself is designed as a reference to the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye inside a triangle that appears on the back of the United States $1 bill, and has been associated with Freemasonic symbolism and various conspiracy theories for centuries. Alex Hirsch was very deliberate about this. Bill Cipher is, at his core, a triangle with an eye. He's a living version of that symbol. His name, Bill, is the name for paper money, as in a bill. Bill Cipher. The cipher on the bill. The eye on the dollar. The pyramid on the currency. The symbolism layers on itself in ways that the show never explicitly explains, but absolutely intended. Section 3. The Caesar Cipher Era. Learning to read between the lines. From the first episode through episode Sachen bestais ja Partine Sam Every single end credit sequence contained a message encoded using the Caesar cipher. And here's where the show starts doing something genuinely remarkable. It was teaching its audience cryptography in real time, with a reversed whisper in the opening theme pointing them toward the key, and messages in the credits rewarding those who followed the instructions. Easter egg number 11 is the very first end credits cryptogram. At the end of the first episode, Tourist Trapped, the credits roll, and then, right before the screen goes dark, there's a message. The encoded text reads, ZHOFRPHWRJUDYLWBIDOOV. Apply the Caesar cipher, shift each letter forward by 3, and you get Welcome to Gravity Falls. It's a greeting, a welcome from the show to the audience. A handshake. Hello, we've been expecting you. You found the first code. Come in, come in. There will be more. Easter egg number 12 is from the second episode, The Legend of the Gobblewonker, and the end credits message decodes to, next week, return to Butt Island, which is exactly as delightful as it sounds. Alex Hirsch and his team understood from the beginning that these messages couldn't be uniformly ominous. They'd lose their punch if every single one was heavy with portent. So they balanced the genuinely meaningful ones with jokes. Pure, silly, absurdist jokes hidden inside cryptographic puzzles. The result was that you never quite knew when you sat down to decode the latest end credit cipher, whether you were about to discover a clue to the show's mythology or a pun about a fictional island called Butt Island. That uncertainty, that interplay of the profound and the ridiculous, that is one of the things that made decoding these messages so addictive. Easter egg number 13 comes from the third episode, Headhunters, The decoded credits message reads, "He's still in the vents." The he in question is not explained. There's no one obviously living in vents in the episode. It just sits there as a cryptic little statement, simultaneously funny and slightly unsettling. Someone is in the vents. You don't know who. The show is moving on. Easter egg number 14 is from the fourth episode, The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, and it decodes to, "Carla, why won't you call me?" This one always makes me smile. Among all the coded prophecies and universe-building foreshadowing, there is a grown man who happens to be one of the most accomplished animated showrunners of his generation, using the end credits cipher slot to write a personal plea to someone named Carla. It implies an entire story. Who is Carla? Why won't she call? Was this ever resolved? We simply do not know. The show does not elaborate. Carla remains a mystery. Easter egg number 15 from the fifth episode, The Inconveniencing, decodes to Onwards Aoshima, a reference to John Aoshima, one of the show's directors. A little piece of appreciation embedded in a cipher. These personal touches, the birthday numbers, the personal names, the family references, are scattered throughout the entire run of the show, and they give you the feeling that you're not just watching a piece of corporate entertainment, but something genuinely made by a person, or a group of people who cared about it. Easter egg number 16 is from episode 6, Dipper versus Manliness, and it decodes to read, "Mr. Caesarian will be out next week. Mr. Atbash will substitute." This one is extraordinary because it's not just a hidden message, it's a direct notification to the audience that the cipher system is about to change. Mr. Caesarian is, obviously, the Caesar cipher. Mr. Atbash is the next cipher system, the Atbash cipher, which is about to take over for the next stretch of episodes. The show is telling you, right now in the coded message of the current episode, how to decode the messages in the next episodes. And at the same time, it's doing it with this wonderfully dry bureaucratic joke, like a substitute teacher announcement from a school that teaches cryptography. The Atbash cipher, for those who haven't encountered it before, is a beautifully simple system where you simply reverse the alphabet. A becomes Z, B becomes Y, C becomes X, and so on, mirroring the whole thing. The reversed audio whisper in the opening theme changes at this point too, shifting from 3 letters back to switch A and Z. Again, the instructions for how to decode the new cipher are hidden in the credits and in the audio for anyone paying close enough attention to find them. Easter egg number 17 comes from the 7th episode, Double Dipper, which was the first episode to use the Atbash cipher. The end credits message, once decoded, reads, "Paper Jam." Dipper says, "Oh God, XQ8 God Sad Sa Duh," which is a reference to one of the episode's monsters, a clone of Dipper made from a malfunctioning photocopier, who communicates in glitchy nonsense sounds. The decoded message is a transcription of those sounds. It's silly. It's also weirdly thoughtful. The show is acknowledging, through a secret code, a throwaway monster who made maybe 30 seconds of total screen time. Easter egg number 18 is from the 8th episode, Irrational Treasure, and it contains a reference we'll spend more time with in a later section. The decoded message reads, "E pluribus trembli," which is a Latin phrase, out of many, trembli, referencing the episode's historical figure, Quentin Tremblay, the 8th president of the United States, who the episode reveals was written out of history. It's funny. It's also a beautifully observed joke about American political mythology. Easter egg number 19 is from episode 9, The Time Traveler's Pig. The decoded credits message is "Not H.G. Wells approved," a reference to H.G. Wells, the author of The Time Machine from 1895, one of the foundational texts of time travel fiction. The episode involves time travel, and the show is poking fun at itself for how it handles time travel relative to the canonical source material. It's the kind of self-aware joke that rewards people who are both attentive enough to decode the cipher and well-read enough to catch the reference. Easter egg number 20 is from episode 10, Fight Fighters, which is the episode about the video game character who comes to life. The decoded credits message is "It works for pi." pigs. That the extraordinary number of eyes in pigs is intentional. It's a joke about how the video game logic of the episode, where a fighting game's special moves work in the real world, apparently also applies to pigs, and the enthusiastic excess of those eyes is delivering the joke in the most cartoonish possible way. You can almost hear someone shouting it. Easter egg number 21 from episode 11, Little Dipper decodes to read, "Heavy is the head that wears the fez." A riff on the old saying, "Heavy is the head that wears the crown," but with Grunkle Stan's iconic fez hat substituted in. It's affectionate. It acknowledges that Stan, for all his absurdity and self-interest, carries a significant weight. Of course, at this point in the show, we don't know the full extent of what that weight is. The hidden identity, the years of work on the portal, the missing brother. But the message gestures at it in a joke about a funny hat. Easter egg number 22 is from episode 12, Summerween. The decoded message, brought to you by Homework, the candy, which is a reference to one of the in-universe candy brands that appears in the episode. Homework the candy is listed among the Halloween treats that the kids are trying to avoid getting, alongside things like toothbrushes and nickels. The show took a throwaway background gag and embedded it in the credits cipher, giving it just a little extra weight, a small acknowledgement. It existed. It was noticed. Easter egg number 23 is the remarkable one from episode 13, Boss Mabel, which decodes to next up, Footbot 2, Grunkle's Grevenge. This is a fictional sequel to a fictional movie. Footbot 2, Grunkle's Grevenge does not exist within the show. It's a fake movie being teased in a cipher, with a deliberately misspelled word in the title, Grevenge instead of revenge, which makes it funnier. It's a whole bit compressed into a secret code. The show was doing cinematic universe parody before cinematic universe parody was quite the cultural obsession it would become. Section 4. The Atbash, the A1Z26, and the Visionaire. The Cipher system deepens. After the first 6 episodes of Caesar Ciphers, the show upgraded, and then upgraded again. And then, in Season 2, introduced a system so complex that solving it required finding a hidden keyword within each episode's visual design. Let's talk about what this upgrade actually looked like in practice, because it's genuinely impressive. Easter egg number 24 is the transition itself. The moment the Atbash cipher took over from the Caesar cipher was announced in the credits, as we discussed. But what made it stick was the way the opening theme audio also changed. The reversed whisper shifted from 3 letters back to switch A and Z. So the transition between cipher systems was signaled simultaneously in 2 different places, in the credits message and in the reversed audio, for 2 different kinds of attentive viewers. Those who decoded the credits found it there. Those who were reversing audio found it in the theme. The show was building a system where multiple routes led to the same information, making it accessible through different kinds of effort. At Easter egg number 25 is from the Atbash era, specifically the end credits message from episode 7, Double Dipper, which in Atbash decodes to a message about paper jam dipper. And the interesting thing here is the visual grammar of the Atbash cipher itself. When you know you're looking at Atbash, it takes on a different feel than Caesar. Caesar feels like a simple rotation, a gentle shuffle of the alphabet. Atbash feels like a mirror, the whole alphabet reflected back on itself. A meeting Z across an invisible midpoint. There's something aesthetically pleasing about it that Caesar doesn't quite have, a symmetry that feels deliberate. Easter egg number 26 is the transition to the A1Z26 cipher, which happens starting with episode 14, Bottomless Pit. The end credits message, now in A1Z26, but reads as a series of numbers rather than scrambled letters. 14-5-24-20, 21-16, 6-15, -15, -20, -2, -15, -2020, -23-15, 7-18, -21, -14, -11, -12-5, 19-7-18, -5, -22, -5, -14, -7, Decode that, and you get next up, Footbot 2, Grunkle's Grevenge. Wait, that's the same joke we saw earlier. It was actually a callback, the show circling back to its own gags. And the appearance of numbers in the credits instead of scrambled letters was itself the cue. The reversed audio whisper in the opening changed yet again, now saying 26 letters, pointing you toward the 26-letter numerical substitution system. Easter egg number 27 is the meta-puzzle hidden across the Dipper's Guide to the Unexplained shorts. These were short, supplementary episodes that aired between the main episodes, featuring Dipper investigating smaller mysteries around Gravity Falls. Each short contained a cipher using a unique system based on the episode numbers and credits cryptograms from the main series. The message buried across all of these shorts, when assembled and decoded, reads, "I was so blind. He lied to me. The darkness is near." This isn't a joke. This is Ford's voice, the author of the journals, speaking across the shorts, building a picture of betrayal and encroaching dread. It's remarkable that this message was hidden not in any single episode but distributed across a supplementary series that casual viewers might never have watched. Easter egg number 28 is perhaps the most technically impressive encoding feat in the entire show. Hidden within the combined cipher used in episode 20, Gideon Rises, there's a meta message that requires taking the Caesar ciphers from all the previous episodes and combining them in a specific way. The resulting decoded text reads, "From the first until the last, search the codes of credits past. One means one, so search them all. Welcome to Gravity Falls." This is a message about all the other messages. It's the cipher that tells you how the cipher system works, hidden inside the cipher system. It's layers within layers. Easter egg number 29 is the transition to the Visionaire cipher, which happens at the start of Season 2 with the premiere episode Scary Oak. The Visionaire cipher is significantly more complex than anything that came before it, because it's not a single substitution cipher, but it's a shifting series of Caesar ciphers, where the amount of shift changes for each letter based on a keyword. To decode a Visionaire cipher, you need the keyword. And in Gravity Falls, starting with Season 2, that keyword is hidden somewhere in the visual background of each episode. In Into the Bunker, the keyword is shed, which you can find written on one of the containers in the bunker. In Society of the Blind Eye, the keyword is WANCH. In A Tale of Two Stands, it's PINES. Each episode hides its own key, and the community of fans would share them as quickly as they were found, decoding the message together. Easter egg number 30 is the keyword gravity for the second season opener, Scary Oak. The decoded message for that episode's credits, "Welcome back." 2 words. After the long wait between seasons, after all the theories and the speculation, the show's first coded message of Season 2 is simply, "Welcome back." It's not a clue. It's not a foreshadowing. It's a greeting. The show acknowledging its audience the way a friend would after time apart. Easter egg number 31 is the credits message for Not What He Seems, the penultimate episode of Season 2's main arc, which is one of the most pivotal episodes of the entire show. The opening theme's reversed whisper changes specifically for this episode, and it now says, "Not what he seems," not 3 letters back, not key visionaire, not switch A and Z, just not what he seems. The whisper that has been giving instructions since episode 1 suddenly stops giving instructions and starts making a statement instead. And the statement is the episode's title. For this one episode, shall the audio DNA of the show itself change to reflect what was happening in the story? Easter egg number 32 comes from the episode A Tale of Two Stands, and the credits message decodes to the original Mystery Twins. This is an explicit callback to Dipper and Mabel, who have called themselves the Mystery Twins throughout the show. But this episode is about Stan and Ford, who are also twins, who also investigated mysteries, who grew up calling themselves by that same nickname. The credits message takes the phrase that belongs to our protagonists and hands it back to the people who were there first. Easter egg number 33 is the binary code hidden in the episode Suze and the Real Girl, specifically in the computer screen scenes involving Giffany, the sentient video game character. When you read that binary code and convert it, the message is related to Giffany's programming, her commands, her logic, her increasing instability. Binary is itself a cipher, of course. Everything is a cipher in Gravity Falls, but its use here is also thematically appropriate. A digital character communicates in digital language. The message is in the form of the messenger. Section 5. Bill Cipher. Hidden before we knew his name. Bill Cipher is introduced properly in the 5th episode of Season 1, Dreamscapers, where he first appears as a face on a triangular yellow surface in a dream sequence. But if you go back through the earlier episodes knowing who he is, you realize he was never really absent. He was there the whole time. Watching. Waiting. Easter egg number 34 is the earliest Bill appearance in the show. Episode 1, Tourist Trapped. In the scene where Dipper discovers Journal 3 in the forest, buried in the hollow of a tree, the camera lingers on the journal in Dipper's hands. And in the trees behind him, if you look very carefully at the shadows and the shapes in the bark, there are eyes. 2 small points of light in the darkness of the forest. Something was watching Dipper find that journal. It's barely perceptible on normal viewing, but once someone pointed it out, the community saw it immediately. Bill was there from the very first episode. Easter egg number 35 is in Episode 3, Headhunters. In the scene where Dipper discovers the wax figures in the Mystery Shack, there's a brief shot of a display case with various objects in it. And among those objects, painted onto a dark surface is a small triangular figure with a single eye. It's not labeled, it's not acknowledged by any character. It's just there, briefly, among the clutter. Bill Cipher in silhouette, hiding in a museum of mysteries, 3 episodes before the show even knows he's a character. Easter egg number 36 is in Episode 10, Fight Fighters, at the very start of the episode for precisely 1 frame, a flash of an image before the title card. In that frame, you can see several quick cut images that the show uses as flash cuts in the opening. One of those images is Bill, clearly visible, eye blazing. He appears for less time than a single breath, and then he's gone. If you're watching in real time, you won't register him consciously. Your brain will log it as part of the visual noise of the opening. But slow it down and there he is. Easter egg number 37 is the Bill appearance in the Northwest Mansion tapestry during the season. 2-episode Northwest Mansion mystery. The tapestry hanging on the wall of the Northwest family's home shows a scene of fire and chaos, and Bill Cipher is depicted hovering over it all, watching, presiding. 2 figures are kneeling beneath him, and skeletal remains are scattered at the bottom of the image. This is not subtle exactly, but it was easy to miss on first viewing because it's presented as background decoration in a wealthy family's home. The kind of thing you might glance at and then look away from without really registering what it depicts. Revisiting the episode later, knowing what's coming, the tapestry is genuinely chilling. Easter egg number 38 is the Bill graffiti in Gideon's prison cell during the Stanchurian Candidate. After Gideon fails to get his father elected as mayor through magical means, we see him back in prison. And on his cell wall, hidden behind a poster of a cat, he has drawn Bill Cipher's zodiac wheel. He's been working on it. The symbols are there, positioned around the circle. Gideon has been thinking about Bill while he was locked up, has been studying the shape of the triangle's power, has been preparing to make a deal. He tears the cat poster down and then finishes the drawing, adding Bill's eye at the center. Then he says he's ready. He's been ready for a while. The cat poster was just keeping the secret. On Easter egg number 39 is the appearance of Bill's symbol in the pipe system of the Mystery Shack, visible in the episode Dreamscapers when characters are navigating through a dream version of the shack. In the pipes, written in a Caesar cipher, the text reads, "Bill is watching." It's not in the physical Mystery Shack. It's in the mind space version of the shack, in the place that exists within Stan's memory, which means that even in the psychic architecture of Stan's own mind, Bill has left his mark. He's already there. He was always already there. Easter egg number 40 is from the Wax Museum episode, Headhunters, where there's a brief shot of an arcade game in the background of one scene. The game is green and angular and triangular in its design. If you were watching carefully, or if someone pointed it out to you later, that arcade game looks an awful lot like Bill. And given that a later episode would feature an actual arcade game sequence with Bill-related content hidden inside it, this feels like a preview, a teaser of a teaser. Easter egg number 41 is the Ford connection. In the journal pages that Ford wrote about Bill, the ones Dipper reads, the ones scattered across the show, Ford's first description of Bill calls him the friendliest and most trustworthy individual I've ever met. This is, of course, Ford before he understands what Bill actually is. But the joke runs deeper. This is the same Ford who writes elsewhere in the journals to trust no one. The contradiction between trust no one, written after, and he's wonderful, written before, is a character arc told across 2 journal pages. The thing Ford learns about trust is the thing that Bill teaches him by betrayal. Easter egg number 42 is the triangular structure of the Mystery Shack roof itself. Viewed from the right angle, the peak of the Mystery Shack's roof forms a triangle. The building that the twins call home for the summer, the building at the center of all the show's mythology, is shaped like Bill Cipher when you look at it from far enough away. Whether this was an explicit design choice or a wonderful coincidence that the animators and Alex Hirsch later acknowledged is unclear. But it's been noted repeatedly by fans, and it sits beautifully alongside everything else. Easter egg number 43 is in Bill's introduction episode, Dreamscaperers, during the actual dream sequence when Bill appears. Before he fully manifests, there are rapid-fire images that flash through the dreamscape. Pause at the right moment during those flashes, and you can see images that foreshadow events from the rest of the show, including things that don't happen until Season 2. Bill was showing the audience the future in dream flashes long before those events arrived. Section 6, Blendin Blandin and the Time-Traveling Background Man. One of the most charming categories of Easter egg in Gravity Falls is the hidden character variety, where a character who hasn't been introduced yet appears in the background of earlier episodes, watching the action. The master of this particular trick is Blendin Blandin, the time traveler from the year 207-012. The extra tilde over the 0 is part of his year number, at an indication of how much further into the future he comes from than any number we'd normally write. Blendin is introduced properly in Episode 9, The Time Traveler's Pig. He's a nervous, sweaty, incompetent time traveler who has been sent to the past to clean up a series of temporal anomalies caused by Dipper and Mabel. When we meet him, he's already frustrated. He's been here before, apparently, dealing with the consequences of things the twins haven't done yet from his perspective, but have already done from the timeline's perspective. Time travel in Gravity Falls is a delightful, headache-inducing mess. Easter egg number 44 is Blendin's appearance in Episode 1, Tourist Trapped. In the scene where Dipper finds Journal 3 in the forest, as the camera pulls back to show the surrounding trees, there's a figure standing at the edge of the frame in the undergrowth. It's barely visible. A man in a camouflage suit that blends with the foliage, watching. That man is Blendin. He's been sent back to the beginning of the summer to clean up whatever temporal chaos the twins are about to create, and he's already there, already nervous, already trying not to be noticed. He is not noticed. Not on the first viewing. Easter egg number 45 is Blendin's appearance in Episode 2, The Legend of the Gobblewonker. The scene where Old Man McGucket is ranting about the lake monster by the pier, there's a crowd of townspeople gathered to watch him. Among those townspeople, in the back of the crowd, is Blendin. He's wearing his time travel camouflage suit and his distinctive thick goggles. But he's watching Old Man McGucket with the rest of the crowd, or possibly he's watching Dipper and Mabel, or possibly he's watching for specific temporal events that he's been assigned to monitor. Whatever he's doing there, he's there, hiding in plain sight, 7 episodes before his name is spoken. Easter egg number 46 is Blendin in Episode 3, Headhunters, in the audience at the wax figure unveiling. He's in a crowd scene, specifically the scene where Stan unveils the new wax sculpture and the townspeople have gathered to watch. And there he is, camouflage suit, goggles, expression of barely concealed anxiety, watching the proceedings with the same expression he always wears, which is the expression of a man who knows exactly how badly this is all going to go and is powerless to prevent it. Easter egg number 47 is the inscription on the wall. In A Tale of Two Stans, when Stan breaks through a wall in the Mystery Shack to reveal the boat he and Ford had built together as teenagers, there is graffiti on the wall. The graffiti reads, "Blendin was here," which means that at some point before this moment in the present timeline, Blendin traveled back to this specific wall and wrote his name on it. We don't know when exactly, whether it was during the summer of the show's main events, or earlier or later and then earlier again because time travel. But he was here. He wanted someone to know he was here. He left a mark. The show acknowledged the Easter egg of the hidden character by having that character literally sign the set. Easter egg number 48 connects Blendin to something much bigger and much darker. Journal 3. The physical book released alongside the show contains a coded letter from Blendin, written in Visionaire Cipher, of course, explaining how he came to be possessed by Bill Cipher. After the events of Blendin's game, the Time Paradox Avoidance Enforcement Squadron made Blendin's life miserable. Even Time Baby mocked him. And one night, Blendin had a dream about a certain triangle who offered to make the mockery stop. All Blendin had to do was agree to a small favor. Blendin agreed before asking what the favor was, and Bill upheld his end of the bargain by vaporizing Time Baby and the entire Time Police during Weirdmageddon. The letter Blendin wrote explaining all of this is hidden inside the physical book, encoded in Cipher, waiting for the reader who thinks to look. At Easter egg number 49 is the way Blendin's possession is set up visually before the reveal. In Dipper and Mabel versus the Future, when Blendin approaches Mabel on the hilltop to offer her eternal summer, there are small tells embedded in the scene for people who are paying close attention. His eye flickers yellow for just a frame. His smile is slightly too wide. The way he moves has a slightly off quality, like someone wearing a person rather than being a person. On first viewing, in the emotional context of the scene, you read these as Blendin being awkward. On rewatch, you see them as Bill, imperfectly inhabiting a body he's not entirely comfortable in, the seams of the possession visible if you know where to look. Easter egg number 50 is the time-traveling tourist. During the town fair scene in The Time Traveler's Pig, when Dipper and Mabel are wandering through the attractions, there are various background characters doing various background character things. If you scan the crowd slowly, you can spot Blendin multiple times in the same scene. A visual joke about time travel, where the same time traveler appears repeatedly in the same location, because he's visited that specific moment from multiple different points in his timeline. He's having a conversation with himself at one point, briefly off to the side. Two Blendins separated by a few feet and presumably a significant amount of personal timeline. Section 7. Agents, Powers, and Trigger, the Watchers in Plain Sight. If Blendin Blandin was doing reconnaissance from the past, Agents, Powers, and Trigger were doing it from the present. These two government agents are officially introduced in the season. Two premiere Scary Oak, where they arrive at the Mystery Shack and make clear that the federal government is aware that something deeply unusual is happening in Gravity Falls, Oregon. But just like Blendin, they were actually there much earlier. Season 1. In the background. Watching. Easter egg number 51 is Agents Powers and Trigger behind playbills at Mabel's puppet show in sock opera. The episode involves Mabel staging an elaborate sock puppet musical to impress a boy named Gabe, who is deeply passionate about puppetry. The show itself is set in a community theater-type space with an audience watching from seats. And sitting in that audience, holding playbills up in front of their faces, not reading them, holding them as concealment, are two men in suits. You can see their legs, their shoes, the set of their shoulders. Powers and Trigger watching the show within the show. Easter egg number 52 is the pair of agents at the mall in Suze and the Real Girl. This episode involves Suze trying to navigate a date at the local mall while being hunted by a sentient dating simulator named Giffany. The mall is a busy public space with crowds of extras populating the background. And in that crowd, walking together with the slightly stiff gait of men who are not quite comfortable pretending to be casual, are Powers and Trigger. They're not looking at Suze. They're not reacting to anything. They're just there, being surveilled and surveilling, in the background of a completely unrelated episode. Easter egg number 53 is the agents in Society of the Blind Eye, standing behind Suze's car in the parking lot while the main group investigates the Society's headquarters. They're partially concealed by the vehicle, which is either a coincidence or a deliberate choice on the part of the agents to use available cover. Given that they appear to be observing the Mystery Shack group, the latter seems more likely. They know what Dipper and Mabel are doing. They're keeping tabs on it. They just haven't found the right moment to intervene yet. Easter egg number 54 is the agents at the music festival in Love God, where Mabel attempts to play matchmaker for two of Gravity Falls' permanently single citizens. It's a romantic comedy episode. There are food vendors and fairy lights and emotional declarations. And in the middle of all this warmth and sweetness, standing near one of the food stalls and looking deeply out of place, are Powers and Trigger. Trying to blend in, not blending in, holding small cups of something and maintaining surveillance with the enthusiasm of people who have clearly not had a day off since they were assigned to Gravity Falls. Easter egg number 55 is the remarkable detail that Agents Powers and Trigger appear at the music festival in Love God, alongside two members of the boy band several times. The genetically engineered, legally complicated pop group from the episode Boys Crazy. The several times boys have presumably been wandering around Gravity Falls since their release into the wild at the end of that episode. Their presence at the music festival makes perfect sense. Not the agent's presence makes its own kind of sense. But the fact that these two storylines briefly share a background, these two threads of the show's ongoing weirdness brushing past each other without acknowledgement, is a very specific kind of delight. Easter egg number 56 is a box in the Mystery Shack. During sock opera, when Dipper phases through the floor during the puppet show performance, the camera briefly shows a section of the floor beneath the stage. And on a crate tucked into that space, there's a box with an antenna on it and what appears to be a government agency symbol, a subtle visual indicator that the government has been monitoring the Mystery Shack from below at some point. The agents didn't just watch from parking lots and theater seats. They were under the floorboards. Section 8. The number 618. Alex Hirsch's signature, hidden in plain sight. The number 618 is embedded in Gravity Falls the way a signature is embedded in a painting. It's everywhere once you start looking for it, and it means one thing. Alex Hirsch was here. June 18th. The birthday of Alex Hirsch and his twin sister Ariel. The number that became the show's private watermark. Its creator's quiet claim of authorship across every surface of the world he built. Easter egg number 57 is the Mystery Shack's address. The building where Dipper and Mabel spend their summer, the tourist trap that serves as the show's home base. Its heart, its primary location. That building's address is 618 Gopher Road. Alex Hirsch's birthday written into the address of the most important location in the show. Easter egg number 58 is the cash register. In any scene where the Mystery Shack's register is visible and displaying a total, and there are several, the amount shown is $6.18. Stan is ringing up a customer for $6.18. The price of whatever's being sold doesn't matter. The number is what matters. The number is always the same number. Easter egg number 59 is the attic game. In the attic bedroom that Dipper and Mabel share, there's an old board game sitting on a shelf. The score on the game's box reads 8190. Flip that number upside down. Turn the 8 to an 8, the 1 to a 1, the 9 to a 6, the 0 to a 0, and you get 0618. The birthday, inverted. It's a mirror image of the number hidden in a child's toy. Easter egg number 60 is the production codes. Every episode of Gravity Falls has a production code that starts with G618. The code for the first episode, Tourist Trapped, is 618G-107. The number that Alex Hirsch stamped on his birthday stamps his episodes. It's in the technical identity of each piece of work. Easter egg number 61 is the Whack-A-Customer arcade game in Dipper and Mabel's room. This is a fictional game, a parody of Whack-A-Mole, with an unsettling customer service theme. The score on the game reads 819. Again, not obviously 618, but turn it upside down and 819 becomes 618. The number appears in its reflected or rotated form so frequently throughout the show that part of the fun of spotting it is recognizing the disguise. Easter egg number 62 is possibly the most self-aware appearance of 618 in the entire show. In one of the Old Man McGucket's Conspiracy Corner mini-segments, McGucket, already deep into his paranoid old man personality, specifically calls out the number 618. He says it's been haunting his dreams. He points out several of its appearances in the show. He considers it a clue from a creature from another dimension and suggests that they are all just drawings on a page. It's a moment where the show breaks its own fourth wall in a bizarre, oblique way, having a character acknowledge the creator's signature as a cosmic mystery, while the joke is that the cosmic mystery is just a birthday, and the creature from another dimension is just a man from Piedmont, California who likes cartoons. Easter egg number 63 is in the title sequence itself. That postage stamp we mentioned earlier, the one that appears in the opening credits montage, bears the number 618. This is the first of the show's appearances of the number, the earliest place in the entire series it shows up. Right at the top, right at the beginning. A birthday stamp in the opening credits of a show about mysteries. Section 9, The Real-Life Roots, Batlani. Alex, Ariel, and the Summers that became a show. Every invented world has a real world inside it, if you look closely enough. The things that feel most true in fiction are usually the things the writer actually lived. And Gravity Falls, for all its supernatural architecture and cryptographic complexity, is at its core a show about a specific pair of siblings and specific summers in the real world, filtered through magic and monsters. On Easter egg number 64 is Dipper himself. Alex Hirsch based the character of Dipper on his own memories of what it felt like to be 12 years old, a kid who carries too many cameras everywhere, who wants desperately to know things that adults won't tell him, who approaches the world with a combination of paranoid curiosity and genuine wonder. When Hirsch was around Dipper's age, he taught himself to speak backwards by recording his own voice and playing the tapes in reverse. Dipper in the show is able to speak backwards. The detail is autobiographical. The character is a memory. Easter egg number 65 is Mabel and the Sweaters. Ariel Hirsch, Alex's twin sister, born on the same day as him, 15 minutes older, wore wacky sweaters as a child. The lime green fuzzy troll doll sweater, with the gem in the belly and the actual hair attached to it, is a real sweater that a real girl wore to a real elementary school in Piedmont, California. Alex saw it and thought it was unusual and wonderful, and he put it in his show. Mabel's sweater collection, which changes from scene to scene, which tells a whole emotional story through color and motif, and whatever animal or star system is currently knitted onto her chest, began with one real sweater in a real childhood. Easter egg number 66 is Waddles the pig. Ariel Hirsch always wanted a pig. She made a pig shrine in her room as a child. She genuinely deeply wanted a pig, the way Mabel genuinely deeply wants everything. And when Alex was creating the show, he gave Mabel the pig his sister never had. Waddles the pink, a perfectly round pig who accompanies Mabel through every adventure of that summer, is a gift from one twin to another, wrapped in animated form. Easter egg number 67 is Grunkle Stan and Grandpa Stan. The real inspiration for Stan Pines is Alex Hirsch's own grandfather, also named Stan. Alex has described a specific story about his grandfather's ashes being illegally scattered in the women's restroom of a Las Vegas casino so that he could, in the words of the family, see the ladies undress forever. That specific flavor of endearing, slightly law-breaking, deeply human absurdity is exactly the flavor that Stan Pines carries through the entire show. The fictional Stan is not a copy of the real one, but the emotional spirit. The combination of showmanship, selfishness, and genuine love came from a real person. At Easter egg number 68 is the town of Piedmont, California. On Dipper's backpack, visible in the opening credits and in various episodes, the word Piedmont is printed. This is where Dipper and Mabel are from, a small, affluent suburban city east of San Francisco. It's also where Alex Hirsch and Ariel Hirsch grew up. Dipper carries the name of his creator's hometown into every episode on the bag on his back. Easter egg number 69 is the great-aunt Granty Lois. Between the ages of 9 and 13, Alex and Ariel Hirsch spent their summers at the cabin of their great-aunt Lois in the woods. The cabin was in a place that felt wild and remote and full of possibilities. They both wished they would have the kind of dramatic, supernatural adventures that their imaginations conjured while they were there. Much the show that resulted from those summers is, in a very real sense, the adventures they always wished they'd had. Grunkle Stan, the Mystery Shack, the deep woods of Oregon, all of it flows from those real summers in that real woman's real cabin. The show is a love letter to something that actually happened, transformed into something that couldn't. Easter egg number 70 is the Lance Bass connection. The episode Boys Crazy involves a boy band called Several Times, all 5 members of whom are voiced by Lance Bass of NSYNC. Why Lance Bass? Because Ariel Hirsch was obsessed with Lance Bass of NSYNC at exactly the age Mabel is in the show. This is Alex doing something for his sister, getting Lance Bass to voice 5 characters in his show, then hiding the actual reason in a cryptogram in the end credits. On the decoded message from that episode's credits reads, "Happy now, Ariel?" Which is Alex in Cipher asking his twin sister if she's pleased with what he did for her. She was, apparently, very happy. She confirmed it. Easter egg number 71 is the birthday party invitation visible in one episode that names Dipper and Mabel's birthday as August 31st. This matters for several reasons. August 31st makes them both Virgos. It also explains why their last day in Gravity Falls, which the show is building toward all summer, is also their birthday. The summer ends, the summer's adventure ends, and the twins' childhood ends all at once on the same day. And the date was chosen deliberately, embedded in a party invitation that appears for maybe 3 seconds, so that attentive viewers could calculate the emotional logic of the finale before it arrived. Section 10. Twin Peaks and the DNA of Weirdness. You cannot talk about Gravity Falls without talking about Twin Peaks. The influence is deep, structural, and lovingly acknowledged in dozens of small ways throughout the show. Alex Hirsch grew up with David Lynch's work in the same way that his audience grew up with Gravity Falls. Not understanding all of it, being unsettled and fascinated by it, returning to it as he got older, and finding new things every time. Easter egg number 72 is the show's entire premise. A mystery set in a small, isolated Pacific Northwest town, where the surface charm conceals something deeply wrong, where an outsider arrives and begins uncovering supernatural secrets, where the quirky locals have hidden depths, but where the visual language blends the cozy and the disturbing into something that's genuinely unsettling, precisely because of how familiar it looks. That's Twin Peaks. And that's also Gravity Falls. The DNA isn't hidden, it's acknowledged. Easter egg number 73 is the mountain silhouette. As we mentioned when walking through the opening credits, the Twin Peaks mountain range, the distinctive double-peaked silhouette that opened every episode of that show, is visible in the background of Gravity Falls' establishing shots. It's not labeled, it doesn't need to be. If you've seen Twin Peaks, you see it immediately. If you haven't, it's just a mountain. Easter egg number 74 is the diner. Gravity Falls has a location called Greasy's Diner, and a small-town breakfast spot where everyone knows everyone and the food is aggressively mediocre. Twin Peaks has the Double R Diner, a small-town breakfast spot where everyone knows everyone and the coffee is famously, almost supernaturally good. The parallel is inexact. One diner is grease-soaked and unglamorous, the other is cozy and beloved. But the structural function is the same. The diner is where the community gathers. It's the social center. It's where information moves. Easter egg number 75 is the club. In The Hand That Rocks the Mabel, Gideon takes Mabel on a date to a location called the Club Club. The interior design of the Club Club is a direct visual reference to the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks. Red curtains, black and white zigzag floors, an otherworldly feeling that sits badly with human perception. The lodge in Twin Peaks is a place of supernatural danger where the rules of reality don't quite apply. The Club Club is played mainly for comedy, but the visual vocabulary it borrows from is the vocabulary of genuine dread. Easter egg number 76 is Bill Cipher's mundane name. Bill. It's a completely ordinary, unremarkable first name, as common as you can get. This was deliberate, and it was inspired by Twin Peaks' primary supernatural antagonist, Bob. Just Bob. One syllable, no mystery, a name your neighbor has. The terror of both characters is partly rooted in how wrong it feels for something that vast and incomprehensible and genuinely evil to have such a small, ordinary name. Bill Bob. The smallness of the name against the enormity of the threat. Easter egg number 77 is the Bill Cipher voice. Alex Hirsch wanted David Lynch himself to voice Bill Cipher. This is confirmed. Hirsch reached out. Lynch was busy or uninterested or not quite findable through the channels available at the time. The details of why it didn't happen are murky, but it didn't happen. So Hirsch voiced Bill himself, and the performance he gives is, in his own words, a bad impression of David Lynch. Specifically, it's an impression of Gordon Cole, the hard-of-hearing FBI man that Lynch played in Twin Peaks, cranked to a higher register and given a slightly manic edge. Bill Cipher sounds like that because he was supposed to sound like David Lynch, and Hirsch did his best approximation when Lynch wasn't available. Easter egg number 78 is Kyle MacLachlan's appearance. MacLachlan played FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks, one of the most beloved characters in the history of prestige television drama. He has a Gravity Falls connection. He appears as a voice actor in the show's series finale, voicing a bus driver. A minor role, apparently, but an enormously meaningful cameo. The actor who played the most famous investigator of supernatural weirdness in a small Pacific Northwest town shows up in Gravity Falls at the end of its run in the kind of uncelebrated supporting role that feels like a deliberate choice. He's a presence, not a spotlight, an acknowledgement, not a tribute. Easter egg number 79 is Tad Strange. In Season 2, there's a character named Tad Strange who appears in a few episodes as a mysterious background presence, a cheerful, slightly too perfect townsperson who speaks in complete sentences and seems to know a great deal. Tad's visual design is an unmistakable nod to Agent Dale Cooper. The suit, the neatness, the slightly too earnest expression. The name is almost an anagram. Tad Strange. Strange Tad? Tad equals dad backwards if you rearrange. But more importantly, the visual design is placing a Dale Cooper figure into Gravity Falls in a background role, letting him exist there as an atmospheric reference. Easter egg number 80 is the end credits of Dreamscaperers. This episode is one of the most visually ambitious in the entire show. An extended dreamscape sequence where the rules of physical reality genuinely stop applying. And the end credits sequence for this episode, specifically the music that plays under them, is composed to directly homage the Twin Peaks end theme by Angelo Badalamenti. The rhythm slows, the tone shifts from bright to melancholy. But the very tempo of the credits changes to match the tempo of those famous closing credits from Twin Peaks. That beautiful, unhurried, slightly haunted music that would play as the show wound down each week. Section 11. Pop culture artifacts and hidden references. Gravity Falls is a show made by people who love things. The references scattered through it are so numerous and so specific that they function almost as a portrait of the room that made the show. The films, the books, the games, the television that the writers and directors and artists carried into the writer's room with them. Easter egg number 81 is the Indiana Jones outfit. In one of Dipper's fantasy sequences, the one where he imagines himself as a successful adventurer, his outfit is a direct visual quote from Indiana Jones. The hat, the jacket, the general silhouette. Dipper's relationship to mystery solving and discovery is articulated through the visual language of film adventure, and the specific language Alex Hirsch reaches for is Spielberg's 1981 archaeology and danger hero. It's a quick joke, but it's also a genuine character note. Dipper wants to be Indiana Jones. Of course he does. Easter egg number 82 is the Stargate portal. The interdimensional portal built beneath the Mystery Shack on Omae, the machine that Stan has been slowly reassembling for 30 years, the device that drives the show's entire mythology, is visually modeled on the Stargate from the 1994 science fiction film of the same name. The ring shape, the alien runes carved into its surface, the spinning mechanism when it activates. The Gravity Falls portal is not identical to the Stargate. But the visual DNA is unmistakable. It's been noted by fans, and it fits neatly with the show's general affection for science fiction mythology. Easter egg number 83 is the Dungeons & Dragons reference in Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. The episode involves Ford introducing Dipper to a complex fantasy role-playing game, and the humor of the episode comes partly from how earnestly both of them engage with it, and partly from how obviously it's being positioned as a parody of Dungeons & Dragons. But the episode goes beyond simple parody. It engages seriously with the question of what it means to be an intellectual, passionate person in a world that doesn't always share your passions. The D&D game becomes a genuine bond between Dipper and Ford, and the episode argues for the value of nerdy obsessions in terms that are both funny and sincere. Easter egg number 84 is the Necronomiconopoly. In the board game storage area of the Mystery Shack, visible in a few episodes, there are several board games whose names are parodies of real games. Necronomiconopoly is a parody of Monopoly, combining it with the Necronomicon of Lovecraftian horror mythology. Don't Wake Stalin is a reference to Don't Wake Daddy, a children's game, combined with historical dictator Joseph Stalin. What Could Go Wrong is a parody of Jumanji. The joke is that this is a family that keeps board games about death and Lovecraftian horror alongside their normal stuff, and that this is somehow completely unremarkable to them. Easter egg number 85 is the Pines family name. Their last name, Pines, is a reference to pine trees, which are everywhere in the Oregon setting of the show, and which serve as Dipper's symbol on the Bill Cipher wheel. But there's an additional possible layer noticed by fans. In the 1985 film Back to the Future, the mall in Hill Valley, California, where Marty McFly lives, is called the Twin Pines Mall. Dipper and Mabel are twins. They're pines. It might be deliberate. It might be a coincidence. It's the kind of thing where the answer is probably deliberate but unprovable, which is often how the best Easter eggs operate. Easter egg number 86 is the Shining reference. The hedge maze sequence in the Northwest Mansion episode has visual and tonal elements that recall Stanley Kubrick's 1980 horror film, specifically the hedge maze from that film's opening, and the general atmosphere of wealthy isolation and supernatural dread. The show is very aware of the horror genre it's playing with, and it reaches for specific reference points when it wants to signal what kind of scary it's being at any given moment. Easter egg number 87 is the X-Files structural similarity. The show is organized around a Monster of the Week format with an ongoing serial mythology running underneath it, which is exactly the structure of the X-Files. The parallels between Dipper Pines and Fox Mulder are not subtle. Both are intense intellectual investigators of the paranormal who believe in things others dismiss. Both carry an unusual amount of personal emotional weight into their investigations. Both have a more grounded partner, Mabel/Scully, who keeps them tethered to reality. And the tagline of the X-Files, "Do you believe?" echoes in the framing of Gravity Falls, which is constantly asking its audience whether they believe what they're seeing. Easter egg number 88 is the Pac-Man reference in Fight Fighters. One of the arcade games visible in the background of the episode is a parody of Pac-Man called something like Pac-like. And the joke is that Pac-Man is a yellow circle/shape eating things, and Bill Cipher is a yellow triangle with an eye watching things. They're both iconic geometric yellow shapes with a single visible feature, occupying different registers of pop culture. It's a small visual joke that connects two icons of different eras through shape. Easter egg number 89 is the Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty cross-universe moments. Alex Hirsch is friends with Justin Roiland, who created Rick and Morty alongside Dan Harmon. As a result, the two shows have referenced each other in ways that blur the line between affectionate tribute and in-universe canon. In the Rick and Morty episode Morty's Mind Blowers, two of the stored memories in Rick's collection are labeled Stanford and Bill C. In Big Trouble in Little Sanchez, a computer monitor briefly shows an image of Bill Cipher. And in Close Encounters of the Rick Kind, objects that disappeared into a portal in Gravity Falls, specifically Grunkle Stan's mug, notepad, and pen from Society of the Blind Eye, come out of a different portal. The objects crossed universes. Easter egg number 90 is the Flat Stanley reference in Irrational Treasure. The episode references Flat Stanley, the classic children's book character who gets flattened and then mailed around the world. In a passing visual joke that acknowledges the specific kind of American childhood mythology the show is drawing from. Gravity Falls exists in conversation with a long tradition of American weirdness for children, and Flat Stanley is part of that tradition. Section 12. Stan's Secret. The foreshadowing that stretched across the whole show. The single biggest long-form mystery in Gravity Falls is the identity of Grunkle Stan, or rather, the fact that the man calling himself Grunkle Stan is actually Stanley Pines, not Stanford Pines, and has been living under his twin brother's identity for 3 decades, while maintaining a portal that his brother's research built. This is the show's biggest twist, and it was foreshadowed constantly and carefully across both seasons. Easter egg number 91 is the tattoo. In an early episode, Stan is seen without his shirt during a brief moment, and there is a glowing red symbol visible on his shoulder. It's treated as a throwaway visual detail at first, but that symbol, which is specific and unusual and not explained, is the same symbol associated with the portal. Stan's tattoo marks him as connected to the portal in a way that the casual viewer registers as weird background detail, and the attentive viewer can file away as evidence. Easter egg number 92 is the Stan War in the second episode, The Legend of the Gobblewonker. Stan talks about wanting to go fishing with the kids and mentions a boat. He has a boat. It's an old, somewhat wrecked fishing vessel. And it's named the Stan War. This is a play on Man o' War, the famous racehorse. But the name is also a callback to something that the show doesn't reveal for over a year. Stan and his twin brother Ford built a boat together as teenagers, planned to sail around the world, and named it the Stan War. The ship was their shared dream. When Stan lost that dream, when Ford pushed him away and cut him out, he kept the name. He applied it to a different boat in a different life. The show seeded this connection in episode 2 and paid it off in a season 2 episode that aired 3 years later. Easter egg number 93 is the six-fingered handprint. Right, when Dipper and Mabel first explore Stan's secret laboratory beneath the Mystery Shack, the walls of the lab have a six-fingered handprint on them. We later learn that Ford Pines has 6 fingers on each hand. It's the central distinguishing feature of the journal's author. So this handprint is Ford's. But when Dipper first sees it, he doesn't know about Ford. He just sees a handprint with too many fingers in a secret lab and files it away. The print answers the question of who built this lab before the show has asked the question. Easter egg number 94 is Stan's Lies tattoo in Dreamscapers. When Bill enters Stan's mindscape and the dream version of the Mystery Shack begins playing tricks, there's a moment where we see the back of the dream version of Stan, where his real tattoo would be, but the skin of the dream Stan instead reads OLHV, that's Caesar Cipher. Decoded, it reads Lies. In the deepest architecture of Stan's own mind and his own dreamscape, his body is labeled with the thing he's carrying. He's been lying about who he is for 30 years, and the lie is so fundamental, it's written into the DNA of how his unconscious mind represents him. Easter egg number 95 is the dream Stan's Mystery Shack signage in that same Dreamscape episode. The sign over the entrance reads PBVWHUBVKDFN, which, decoded with the Caesar cipher, says Mystery Shack. But the thing is, you'd expect the Dreamscape version to just say Mystery Shack normally. Or the fact that even the dream version of the shack has its own name encoded suggests that secrecy isn't just something Stan practices, it's something he's internalized to the point where it shapes his literal dream architecture. Easter egg number 96 is the secret lab portal and the vending machine. Throughout Season 1, the vending machine in the Mystery Shack's main area is a recurring background element. It's where Sue sometimes gets snacks. It looks like a perfectly ordinary vending machine for a tourist trap gift shop. But in the very first episode, Stan goes through it. It's a secret door, it leads to a hidden staircase, and that staircase leads to the portal he's been building for 30 years. The vending machine is the most mundane possible facade for one of the most significant plot elements in the show. The portal is hidden behind a pit cola machine. The fate of a dimension is decided in part by whether you check behind the vending machine. Easter egg number 97 is Stan's hat. His fez, that red tasseled hat that he wears throughout the show, bears a symbol. The symbol is associated with the Shriners, the fraternal organization known for their fezes and their charitable work. But in Gravity Falls, it's connected to the show's mythology in ways that get gradually elaborated over the course of both seasons. The hat is, among other things, a connection to the portal, the same category of symbol that marks his tattoo, the same vocabulary of ancient weird power. Stan is wearing his connection to his hidden life on his head. Easter egg number 98 is the glasses in the hidden room. But when Dipper discovers Stan's secret underground lab and looks around at the objects stored there, the instruments, the papers, the tools, he spots, among other things, a pair of glasses. He picks them up and they're too large for him, the wrong prescription, the style of a different kind of person. Ford's glasses, sitting in Stan's lab. Stan has been keeping them. Why would Stan keep his brother's glasses in the room where he's been working to bring his brother back? Because he's been working to bring his brother back for 30 years, and the glasses are the closest thing to Ford he still has. Easter egg number 99 is the 1982 flashback connection. In the Season 2 episode, A Tale of Two Stans, we learn the full history of how Stan and Ford's relationship collapsed, how Ford was pushed away by Stan, and how the portal accident happened, how Stan stepped in and took Ford's identity, and the year of that accident, 1982, is referenced in other places throughout the show. The massive electromagnetic pulse that government records show hit the Gravity Falls area 30 years before the show's events. That was the portal accident. The timeline was there all along for viewers who noticed the 30-year gap between the government records and the show's present. Easter egg number 100 is what happens to Stan's real name. For the entirety of Season 1, the character we know as Grunkle Stan is consistently called Stan or Grunkle Stan. It's only in Season 2 that we learn his full name is Stanford Pines because he's been using his brother's identity and his brother's first name. And when we learn this, as we go back through everything and hear all the times people called him Stanford or Mr. Pines in a completely different register, the name was always right. It was the person attached to it that was wrong. Section 13. The Bill Cipher Wheel. The prophecy in the opening frame. We've touched on the Bill Cipher Wheel already, but it deserves a section of its own, because the full story of what that wheel means and how its meaning was hidden, revealed, and finally activated across the course of the show is one of the most beautifully executed long-form storytelling devices in recent animated television. Easter egg number 101 is the very first appearance of the wheel in the opening credits. There it is, one circular diagram surrounded by its 10 symbols. If you freeze the frame and count the symbols, there are exactly 10, the perfect number for the cast of characters who will need to stand in specific positions to perform the ritual that defeats Bill. The wheel is a diagram of the show's resolution, displayed in the first 47 seconds. Easter egg number 102 is Bill's first use of character symbols as names. When Bill refers to Dipper, he calls him Pine Tree. When he addresses Mabel, she becomes Shooting Star. When he deals with Ford, it's Sixer, a reference to Ford's 6 fingers rather than the 6-pointed star symbol, but still in the same mode of substituting symbol for name. Bill doesn't call people by their names. He calls them by their symbols on the wheel. He sees them as pieces on a board, positions to be filled, elements of a larger pattern he's the center of. Yet his way of speaking to them is itself a clue to what the wheel means. Easter egg number 103 is the symbol assignments and their meanings. The pine tree for Dipper, straightforward, he wears one on his hat. The shooting star for Mabel, she loves glitter and aspiration, and she literally once wore a shooting star sweater. The 6-fingered hand for Ford, the physical mark that identifies him throughout the show. The question mark for Seuss. Seuss is the show's embodiment of warmth and mystery and things that don't need to be explained, and the question mark captures all of that perfectly. The glasses for McGucket. But wait, those are the same glasses that we find in Stan's secret lab. The crescent for Stan, the moon's incomplete form, a thing that seems to be something other than what it fully is. Easter egg number 104 is the llama for Pacifica. The llama and the shooting star face opposite directions on the wheel. Mabel and Pacifica are on opposite sides, positioned as mirrors of each other. The llama is often considered a grumpy, aloof animal, which fits Pacifica's initial characterization as Mabel's wealthy, disdainful antagonist. But llamas are also fiercely protective, deeply loyal to those they trust, and surprisingly gentle once you understand them, which fits Pacifica's arc. The symbol was chosen for both versions of the character at once. Easter egg number 105 is the sewn-up heart for Robbie. Robbie is Wendy's boyfriend for part of the show, a teenage boy who presents himself as dark and wounded and expressing everything through spray-painted walls and badly written songs. At a sewn-up heart, damaged, patched, still working but visibly hurt, is exactly the right symbol for the performance of teen emotional pain that Robbie embodies. His symbol is his whole aesthetic distilled into one image. Easter egg number 106 is the ice bag for Wendy. Several theories exist about why Wendy gets the ice bag. The most commonly accepted one connects back to Blendin's introduction. When Blendin first appears in The Time Traveler's Pig, he bumps into Dipper, who is carrying an ice bag. The confusion of the ice bag being Wendy's symbol, or Blendin's, is never resolved in the show. But Wendy being cool is a pun that the show seems to be making deliberately. She is the cool one, the one who maintains calm in chaos, the one the kids look up to as the embodiment of teenager freedom. But the ice bag works on multiple levels. Easter egg number 107 is the fact that the wheel's prophecy doesn't work. In the finale, all 10 characters stand in their correct positions on the wheel. They join hands, and Bill destroys the ritual. The circle breaks, the prophecy fails. Which means that everything that came before, all the hints, all the symbols, all the foreshadowing, built to a moment that doesn't go the way anyone planned. The prophecy was real, but it wasn't sufficient. What actually defeats Bill is something the wheel couldn't have predicted: the specific shape of the Pines family's love and loss, and willingness to sacrifice memory for each other. The wheel sets up the ending, and then the ending goes somewhere else entirely. Section 14. Journal 3 and the secrets inside the book. Journal 3, both as an in-universe object and as a physical book released to the public in July 2016, is a treasure chest of hidden details, coded messages, and illuminated corners of the show's mythology. Easter egg number 108 is the Rick and Morty Easter eggs inside the official Journal 3 book. Among the entries in Ford's journal, there are several references to things that also exist in the Rick and Morty universe. A silhouetted plumbus, one of the most iconic Rick and Morty props. A purple device whose purpose is never explained, but which exists throughout that show's universe, appears in one of the journal's creature entries. There's also a note near Ford's mugshot page that, when decoded, reads, "Rick was here." Ford, according to the journal, had a fistfight with a talking chair during his interdimensional travels, and that specific talking chair appears in a Rick and Morty episode about alternate dimensions. The two shows may share a multiverse. Justin Roiland has said that everything is canon, with a smile. Easter egg number 109 is Bill's annotations in the journal. Bill has been reading Ford's journals. He's been making notes. In the journal, in Bill's own cipher, there are annotations scattered through Ford's entries, little additions, corrections, taunting notes from one side of a very unequal relationship. Ford writes something about a creature. Bill adds a comment that's visible only if you know to look and know how to decode. He's been in the margins of Ford's work for years. He's been reading over his shoulder. Easter egg number 110 is the Blacklight edition. The special edition of Journal 3, released in 2017 and limited to 10,000 copies, came with a monocle and a blacklight pen. When you shine the blacklight pen on certain pages of the journal, new content becomes visible, hidden in invisible ink, literally unseen in ordinary light. The content revealed includes additional creature descriptions, personal notes from Ford, and encrypted messages that add layers to the stories we already know. Among the revelations, the memory gun was used to wipe the memories of the construction workers who helped build the portal to keep the project secret. The device's human cost was larger than we knew. Easter egg number 111 is the message on the book jacket itself. Alex Hirsch wrote a letter on the book jacket of the Journal 3 physical release, and in that letter, certain letters are highlighted in blue. Take all the blue letters and string them together, and they spell, "Stay weird." In the special edition, the same trick with the highlighted letters spells, "Lucky you." It's a message that exists in two layers, the visible letter and the letter that only emerges when you look at it the right way. Easter egg number 112 is the Stan/Ford childhood cipher. Toward the end of the Book of Bill, the 2024 release that reveals what happened to Bill after Weirdmageddon, there appears a cipher that Stan and Ford invented together as children. Their own private language, built when they were young and close and still dreaming about sailing around the world together. The cipher survives their falling out, their 30 years apart, the destruction of the portal. It's there, embedded in the final mythology of the show, a reminder of the relationship at the center of everything. Easter egg number 113 is the "Rick was here" annotation and what it means for universe building. If Rick Sanchez was present in a dimension that Ford visited during his interdimensional travels, and if Stan's mug crossed into Rick and Morty's universe through a portal in Society of the Blind Eye, and if the Rick and Morty episodes contain multiple references to Ford and to Bill, then what we're looking at is not just friendly tributes between shows created by friends. We're looking at evidence that these two fictional universes have a genuine, in-universe relationship. Well, not in any legally binding crossover sense, but in the sense that the creators built their worlds to be adjacent to each other, to have edges that touch. The Easter eggs are the joints where the two worlds connect. Section 15. The Cipher Hunt, a real-world mystery for the ages. Everything we've discussed so far has been inside the show or inside the books, but the Cipher Hunt took everything the show taught its audience about decoding, investigating, and collaborating, and applied it to the real world. Easter egg number 114 is the statue at the end of the finale. In the very last moments of Weirdmageddon 3, Take Back the Falls, after the credits have rolled and the emotional weight of the ending has settled, there's a brief sequence of footage showing a real-world statue, stone, a triangle with an eye, surrounded by real trees in what looks like a real forest. Below it, a line of text in Caesar's cipher that decodes to, "The universe is a hologram. Reality is an illusion. Buy gold. Goodbye." The statue was real. Alex Hirsch and a prop fabricator named Fawn Davis had built it, rubbed seed glue on it so it would grow moss and look aged, driven it to a property in Reedsport, Oregon, and installed it in the ground. Then they filmed a few seconds of footage to put at the end of the show. And then they waited. Easter egg number 115 is the hashtag that launched the hunt. On July 20th, 2016, Alex Hirsch tweeted, "Are you guys ready?" And then, "Let the games begin," followed by a long hashtag that, decoded via Caesar Cipher, read, "Cipher Hunt." The tweet also contained an image, a damaged piece of paper showing a map of some kind, lined with architectural details in some areas, with a triangular shape and trees in another section. Multiple cryptograms were visible in the image. The decoded text read, "The urban legend has come true. Cipher statues calling you. The secret map is in your hand to trace the clues across the land. Don't forget it's all for pleasure. The hunt itself's the real treasure, but a prize awaits the first one there. Be safe, be smart, and, of course, beware." The letters in red, when combined, spelled out the name of the country where the first clue was hidden. Russia. Easter egg number 116 is the first clue in Russia. Hirsch had visited St. Petersburg for a convention in April 2016 and secretly left the first clue hidden at the Kazan Cathedral, the sweeping neoclassical cathedral at the heart of the city. The clue was encoded on a wooden plaque, and fans in Russia, who had decoded the image and understood where to look, went to the cathedral and found it. The decoded message pointed to Japan. Easter egg number 117 is the clue at the Kanda Myojin Shrine in Tokyo. On the back of an ime, a small wooden tablet used for written prayers at Shinto shrines, a message was hidden. A fan who saw the alert went to the shrine, found the ime, decoded the message. The decoded text pointed to Atlanta, Georgia. Easter egg number 118 is Waddles' missing poster. In Atlanta, at a Shriners Temple, a location chosen, almost certainly because of the connection between Shriners and Fez hats, which connects directly to Grunkelstan. There was a missing poster for Waddles the pig. The poster had a phone number. The phone number played a recorded message from Grunkelstan, voiced by Alex Hirsch, which gave the location of the next clue. Easter egg number 119 is the 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. One of the clues along the route required fans to assemble a 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzle of Bill Cipher. The assembled puzzle revealed a new message. This is the Gravity Falls fandom in miniature. A group of people who will drive to California and assemble a 2,000-piece puzzle of a triangular demon on a floor somewhere because that's how much they love this show. Easter egg number 120 is the final clue and the Polybius Square. After all the other clues had been gathered, from Russia, from Japan, from Atlanta, from Rhode Island, where one clue was accidentally thrown away by a janitor, from Los Angeles, from Piedmont, California, Alex and Ariel's hometown, from a park shaped like the Eye of Providence in Century City, the final clue required fans to use a Polybius Square cipher to decode a message hidden in a pattern of branches and knots in the photograph of the Bill Cipher statue. The decoded message pointed to Reedsport, Oregon. On August 2nd, 2016, at 7:53 in the evening, a Twitter user named shadow_Wolfwind found the statue in a forest clearing, dug up the treasure chest buried in front of it, and streamed the whole thing on Periscope for the rest of the Gravity Falls fandom. Easter egg number 121 is what was in the treasure chest. Among the items, a crown and a sash naming the finder, the mayor of Gravity Falls, a miniature Bill Cipher statue, a music box that plays the Gravity Falls theme, a personalized copy of Journal 3 with drawings by Alex Hirsch, a USB drive with a message from Grunkelstan that, among other things, encouraged the finder to shake Bill's hand, which Hirsch had explicitly told everyone not to do. Even the treasure's contents were a puzzle, a joke, a final act of misdirection. The hunt was over, but the last laugh still belonged to Bill. Easter egg number 122 is the statue's fate. The day after the cipher hunt ended, local authorities took the statue because of a property dispute over who owned the land it had been installed on. The hat was damaged in the process, and then someone stole it from the police station while the statue was being held there. The statue moved to Bicentennial Park in Reedsport for a time, then eventually found a permanent home at Confusion Hill in Piercy, in California, the very roadside attraction that inspired the Mystery Shack in the first place. The Hunt's artifact came to rest where the show's inspiration lived. It came home. Section 16. Bill's Last Words and the Axolotl Mystery. The final confrontation between Bill Cipher and the Pines family is one of the most emotionally charged sequences in the entire show. Stan lets Bill into his mind, and then Mabel fires the memory gun at Stan's head, erasing everything that makes Stan who he is, including Bill. Bill dissolves, screaming, from the inside of a mind that no longer knows him. And in the moments before he's gone, he says something. Something that, at normal speed and forward direction, is incomprehensible. Something that only becomes readable when you play it backwards. Easter egg number 123 is the message itself. Played backwards, Bill's final words are, AXOLOTL. My time has come to burn. I invoke the ancient power that I may return. Not a scream of defeat, not a threat or a curse, though it has the shape of both. An invocation. A name called out to something Bill knows but has never spoken of in front of anyone who could hear. He's not speaking to the Pines family. He's speaking to a higher power. Easter egg number 124 is the word axolotl as the final episode's visionaire key. The final episode's end credits cryptogram is encoded with a visionaire cipher. The keyword you need to decode it, hidden somewhere in the episode's visual design, as with every visionaire cipher in Season 2, is axolotl. That the same word Bill screams as he dies is the key that unlocks the episode's final hidden message. The show is pointing at something and saying, this matters. This word. Remember it. Easter egg number 125 is the axolotl creature itself. In the canon Gravity Falls mythology, the axolotl is a vast and ancient extra-dimensional being, described as ranking above Time Baby, above Bill, above any other named power in the show. It takes the form of a giant talking axolotl, the real-world creature that's famous for its ability to regenerate lost limbs, to regrow parts of itself after damage, to maintain a kind of perpetual biological youth. And in the tie-in web content connected to the show, accessible through a specific website with a specific username and password, Dipper and Mabel encounter the axolotl and ask it questions. Mabel asks who it is. It says the axolotl. Dipper asks what it knows about Bill Cipher, and the axolotl answers in a poem. Easter egg number 126 is that poem. The axolotl's response to Dipper's question about Bill is, 60 degrees that come in threes, watches from within birch trees, saw his own dimension burn. Misses home and can't return, says he's happy. He's a liar. Blame the arson for the fire. If he wants to shirk the blame, he'll have to invoke my name. One way to absolve his crime, a different form, a different time. This poem does several things simultaneously, and it confirms that Bill destroyed his own home dimension, something implied by the show but never explicitly stated. It suggests that Bill regrets it, that beneath all the chaos and performance and malevolent glee, there's something that could be described as grief. It says he's a liar when he says he's happy, and it says that there's exactly one way for Bill to address his crime: to invoke the axolotl's name, which will result in Bill returning in a different form in a different time. Which is what Bill's final words are doing. He's invoking the axolotl. He's asking for the one redemption available to him. Easter egg number 127 is the mythology of the name itself. If you take the word axolotl and remove the leading A, you get exolotl. Xolotl is a deity from Aztec mythology, the god of fire, lightning, death, and twins. He was the twin of Quetzalcoatl, the god of wind and learning. He was a dark god associated with deformity and misfortune, who guided souls through the underworld. The connection between Xolotl and Bill is so layered, it almost feels like it can't be coincidence. The show is about twins, Bill is connected to fire and death and deformity and misfortune, and the being that Bill calls on at the moment of his death is named for a death god of twins. Whether this was all planned from the beginning or discovered and embraced as the show developed, the fact is, it's all there, interlocked, waiting. Easter egg number 128 is the Book of Bill's resolution of Bill's fate. Released in July 2024, the Book of Bill's Workam, narrated by Bill himself, from the perspective of whatever state he currently exists in, finally answers the question of what happened after Weirdmageddon. The book reveals that Bill survived his encounter with Stan's memory gun, but in a diminished form, constrained to a place called the Theraprism, where he is required to be honest and confront his feelings. The most powerful chaos demon in the universe, the being who burned his own dimension and tried to take ours, is now in mandatory emotional processing therapy. The Book of Bill presents this as genuinely hilarious but also genuinely poignant. Bill's worst nightmare, worse than defeat, is being made to be sincere. Easter egg number 129 is the Theraprism Cipher in the Book of Bill. New ciphers appear in the book that weren't in the show. The Theraprism pages use an alien writing system specific to the Theraprism, a place associated with the axolotl. The cipher is visually unlike anything in the show's established vocabulary, suggesting we've moved beyond the mythology that the journals document. Bill is somewhere new. The language is new. And fans are still, as of this writing, working on fully decoding everything hidden in those pages. Easter egg number 130 is the color-based cipher in the Book of Bill. Among the new encoding systems introduced in the book is one that uses color itself as a coding element. Sequences and combinations of colors that encode messages when read in the right order with the right key. This is an expansion of the show's cipher system into a domain that the show itself never used. The Book of Bill isn't just adding content to the mythology, it's adding new tools for encryption, new layers of secrecy, new ways for the story to hide what it knows. Section 17. The Book of Bill. When the show reached into the future. The Book of Bill was released on July 9, 2024, almost 8 years after the show's finale aired. In that time, the Gravity Falls fandom had not dissolved. It had persisted, grown, continued generating theories and fan art and analysis, waiting for the next piece of the puzzle. When the book arrived, it was received as a gift and attacked as a puzzle simultaneously. It spent time on the New York Times bestseller list and the Amazon bestseller list. Fans organized online to share decoded sections. The cycle repeated. A piece of Gravity Falls was released into the world, and the community gathered to take it apart. Easter egg number 131 is Stanford's framing device for the book itself. The Book of Bill is introduced through a letter from Stanford Pines explaining how he came to possess the book and why he's passing it on. The conceit is that the book is inherently dangerous. It infects other books around it, corrupting them, filling their pages with strange content. It can't be burned. It can't be buried. Ford tried everything and eventually threw it through a dimensional rift so it would end up somewhere other than his own reality. The book reached ours. Ford writes directly to the reader. Stop, don't turn the page. This is a trap. Of course the reader turns the page. Easter egg number 132 is the marketing alternate reality game for the Book of Bill. But before the book's release, the Oregon Parks Department, a parody Twitter/X account that had previously been used during the Cipher Hunt era, reactivated. A park ranger named Gus Burnside found a copy of the Book of Bill in the woods. He reported that the book was filled with teeth. He tried to get rid of it. Burning didn't work. Burying didn't work. Gus Burnside eventually went missing. His account went silent. This was all promotional material for the book's release, but it was promotional material built using the same ARG logic that had always governed Gravity Falls' relationship with its audience. The book wasn't selling itself through advertising, it was selling itself through mystery. Easter egg number 133 is the Bill Cipher billboard. During the Book of Bill's promotional campaign, a physical billboard appeared that appeared to be advertising for some ordinary product, but when called, connected to a recording of Bill Cipher laughing for an extended period, followed by a message in Morse code that decoded to, Bill is coming. The merge between the real world and the show's mythology that had begun with the Cipher Hunt continued in a new form, adapted for a new medium. The demon was coming. The billboard told you so. Easter egg number 134 is what the book reveals about Bill's home dimension. Bill Cipher destroyed it. He destroyed his entire dimension, the second dimension, the flat world he came from, a place of pure geometry and rigid order that he found suffocating. He burned it. And though he acts everywhere in the show as if this was a triumphant act of liberation, the axolotl's poem contradicts him. He misses home and can't return. In the book, Ford's journal sections describe seeing Bill look distant, more haunted than Ford had ever seen him. Bill keeps the last remaining atoms of his destroyed dimension in his hat. The hat contains the remains of everything he killed. Easter egg number 135 is the chess game. The Book of Bill contains imagery of Ford and Bill playing chess together in the mindscape, a visual metaphor for their relationship that extends and deepens the dynamic we saw in the show. Bill is the kind of opponent who treats every interaction as a game. Ford is the kind of mind that can't resist engaging with a game. The chess metaphor captures both of them perfectly, two players of extraordinary intelligence, and one of whom has decided the board itself is what he wants to control. Section 18. Mabel's sweaters and the small, beautiful details. Some of the most quietly wonderful Easter eggs in Gravity Falls are not about prophecies or ciphers or existential threats from beyond reality. They're about the small, warm, specifically observed details that make the show feel like a place rather than a production. Easter egg number 136 is the sweater continuity. Mabel's sweater changes between scenes in a way that initially seems like a straightforward cartoon rule. Give the energetic one a constantly changing wardrobe to emphasize her personality. But in many episodes, the sweater's design comments on the episode's themes. When in Into the Bunker, where the group explores a secret underground facility and Mabel has to use her flashlight app to navigate a dark tunnel, she wears a sweater with a light bulb on it. The sweater is literally illuminating the scene. In an episode where she lies to Stan to help him face his fears, she wears a sweater with a Scout's honor gesture on the front and, crucially, crossed fingers on the back. She's making the gesture that means you don't mean what you're saying. The sweater is telling the truth about her lie. Easter egg number 137 is the specific sweater in the Headhunters episode where Mabel is initially a suspect in a wax figure's murder. She's wearing a sweater with a llama on it. In the show's symbolic language, the llama will later be identified as Pacifica's symbol on the Bill Cipher wheel. Mabel wearing a llama sweater in the same episode where she's briefly positioned as a villain is either deliberate irony or extraordinary coincidence. The show doesn't explain it either way. Easter egg number 138 is the mystery of Mabel's art. In multiple episodes, Mabel can be seen working on arts and crafts projects, scrapbooking, bedazzling, sewing, glittering things that did not ask to be glittered. If you look closely at the objects she creates, they sometimes contain encoded messages or visual jokes that are never acknowledged by any character. A scrapbook page might include words formed from the arrangement of stickers. A piece of needlework might spell something out if you read it the right way. These are the kinds of details that live in the texture of the show, not significant plot points, just evidence of the care that was being paid to every surface. Easter egg number 139 is the Seuss Wi-Fi password. In one episode, a brief shot of a device connecting to the Mystery Shack's Wi-Fi network shows the network name and password. The password is FIXINIT2, which is both what Seuss does, he fixes things, and an anagram of Xfinity2, a real internet service provider's product name. It's a joke that works on multiple levels, a throwaway gag that rewards the pause and read viewer with something small and satisfying. Easter egg number 140 is Robbie's bedroom wall. If you look at Robbie's bedroom during the brief glimpses we get of it, you can find painted on the wall in his spray-painted aesthetic the words "Die Dipper Die, Robbie," who has spent most of his screen time being pathetic about Wendy and broadly harmless, apparently feels strongly enough about Dipper Pines to have painted his name on his wall with death wishes attached. This says something about Robbie that the show never quite states directly. That underneath the teen angst performance, he's genuinely angry, genuinely threatened, and has been sitting in his room processing that anger in paint. Easter egg number 141 is the Pit Cola continuity. Pit Cola is the fictional soft drink brand of Gravity Falls, and it appears in essentially every episode in some form. It's always in the same basic design. It's always being consumed by background characters. It's always in the vending machine in the Mystery Shack. Now, the consistency of this in-world brand Its persistent presence across every location, every episode, every background, creates a sense of the show's world being a real place with real commercial infrastructure. Somewhere there's a Pit Cola factory. Somewhere there's a Pit Cola marketing department. The town feels like it has a supply chain. Easter egg number 142 is the newspapers. The Gravity Falls Gossiper, the town's local newspaper, appears throughout the show in background shots. And if you pause and read the headlines, they're consistently brilliant. They foreshadow events. They comment on events that just happened. They contain classified ads that establish details about the town's daily life. They're written with the particular dry, small-town newspaper tone that only exists in real small-town newspapers. And they're full of information about Gravity Falls as a living community that extends beyond the plots of the main episodes. Easter egg number 143 is the Mystery Shack's various sign changes. Stan's tourist trap is called the Mystery Shack throughout the show, but if you pay attention to the sign in the opening credits and in various establishing shots, you'll notice that the sign occasionally shows different names. Throughout the run of the show, the Mystery Shack's sign has read various things at various points, sometimes Mystery Shack, sometimes other names that Stan has apparently tried and abandoned. This is consistent with Stan's character, a showman who's always trying new angles, always testing what works, always adapting his pitch. Section 19. Credits cryptograms. The funniest, strangest decoded messages. We've covered the Cipher systems and some specific messages already, but there's a category of decoded end credits messages that deserves its own section. The ones that are purely, wonderfully, absurdly funny. The ones that have nothing to do with mythology or foreshadowing and everything to do with Alex Hirsch and his writers entertaining themselves. Easter egg number 144 is the Puppet Master's message. The end credits cryptogram from the episode Sock Opera decodes to, "We've all had some fun tonight, but let's not forget who the real puppet masters are. Reptoids who have infiltrated our government." This is a multi-sentence message packed with jokes. The first sentence pretending to end the fun. The second sentence pivoting to an absolutely unhinged conspiracy theory about reptilian overlords, as if it's a reasonable continuation. The reptoid conspiracy theory is a real conspiracy theory that exists in the world outside Gravity Falls. The show dropped it into a Visionaire encoded end credits message like a jewel in a setting. Easter egg number 145 is the Big Henry tribute. An end credits message from one of the Season 2 episodes decodes to, "Remember Big Henry." Big Henry is a minecart worker who appears briefly during the golf course episode and is implied to have died doing his job. He's a throwaway background character with essentially no screen time, but he gets a memorial in the credits, in code. For the attentive viewer, the show took a character no one would remember and asked everyone who decoded the message to remember him. Remember Big Henry. Easter egg number 146 is the Space Jam reference. Binary code that appears on a computer screen in one episode, when decoded, reads Space Jam 2, which was not a thing that existed when this episode aired. Space Jam 2 would not become a real film until 2021, years after Gravity Falls ended. The message was either prophetic, coincidental, or placed there specifically because it seemed funny to encode a jokey sequel announcement into a children's cartoon in binary. All three options are possible with this show. Easter egg number 147 is the Ariel acknowledgement we've already mentioned. Happy now, Ariel? But worth revisiting in the context of all these playful personal messages. The credits messages function as a kind of private channel between the creators and whoever is paying enough attention to decode them. They're love notes and jokes and tributes and nonsense, compressed into ciphers that most viewers will never see. They're the show talking to itself, the show being fully, joyfully itself in a hidden register. Easter egg number 148 is the Dr. Waddles joke. An end credits message from a Season 2 episode decodes to, check out Dr. Waddles' latest book, A Brief History of Oink, 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 Oink. In the episode Carpet Diem, Waddles the pig temporarily gains human intelligence and demonstrates capabilities well beyond those of any normal pig. The credits message imagines a future in which Waddles has written a distinguished academic text. The content of that text is entirely pig sounds. This is a perfect joke. Easter egg number 149 is the fourth wall-breaking message in the Irrational Treasure credits. The message, once decoded, contains two parts. One is a foreshadowing detail about future episode content. The other is the line, "Writing jokes for cartoons is more important than sleep." This is Alex Hirsch and his writers breaking through the fourth wall in the most direct possible way, acknowledging in their own secret channel that they stayed up too late to write these messages, that the job they're doing requires exactly the kind of exhausted dedication that produces both brilliant ideas and complete nonsense, and that they have chosen the brilliant ideas by not sleeping. There's also a bonus in that same message. If you recite the Pledge of Allegiance backwards, you'll gain secret wizard powers. The note adds, "This one works, kids. Try it at home." It's the show at its most playful and its most direct. Section 20. Final Reflections. Why these Easter eggs matter. We've made it through 149. One more to go. But before we get there, I want to slow down just a little and sit with what we've been through. Because here's the thing about Easter eggs, about hidden messages, about all the secrets packed into Gravity Falls that we've been cataloging tonight. They're not just fun. They're not just clever. They're a philosophy of storytelling, and that philosophy is worth naming. Alex Hirsch believed that the people watching his show deserved to be treated as full participants in the story. Not just audiences receiving a product, but active partners in building its meaning. The ciphers are an invitation. The background details are an invitation. The reversed audio is an invitation. Every Easter egg is, at its core, an invitation. Come closer, look harder, the story has more to give you. Most television doesn't do this. Most television, even good television, is designed to be received rather than explored. You sit back, you watch, it unfolds. Gravity Falls keeps finding new ways to reach through the screen and pull you forward. It asks you to pause. It asks you to reverse. It asks you to decode. And it asks you to build spreadsheets and share findings on Reddit and drive to Oregon and piece together 2,000-piece puzzles on convention center floors. It asks for active engagement as a condition for giving you everything it has. And in doing so, it created something unusual, a relationship between a show and its audience that feels genuinely reciprocal. Not the creator broadcasting to a passive audience, but a conversation. Hirsch hides something. The audience finds it. Hirsch acknowledges that they found it. The audience looks harder. It goes on like this for years, across books and games and treasure hunts and Reddit. AMAs and tweets. The show ended in 2016, but the conversation hasn't. The reason for that is the trust embedded in the Easter eggs. When you put a cipher in your opening credits that won't be solved for weeks, then you're trusting your audience to stick around and figure it out. When you plan a character in 3 episodes before their introduction, you're trusting your audience to notice. When you run a global treasure hunt on your own time and your own money with no corporate affiliation, you're trusting your audience to show up and inamai. And that trust, returned, creates the particular kind of devoted community that Gravity Falls inspired. People who felt genuinely seen by the show because the show was clearly paying as much attention to them as they were to it. There's something in that worth holding on to as we come to the end of tonight. The idea that the best things, the most generous, the most rewarding, the most worth your time, are the ones that ask something of you, not just to watch, not just to consume, to notice, to question, not to keep looking. Gravity Falls trained a generation of viewers to do that. To pause at the right moment, to reverse the audio, to look at the background of the shot, to decode what they were given and look for more. Those are not just skills for watching a cartoon. Those are skills for navigating the world. All right, number 150. Let's end where the show ended, or rather, where it didn't quite end. Easter egg number 150 is the final post-credits tag of Weirdmageddon 3, the very last thing in the entire series. After the emotional climax, after the sun rises on Gravity Falls with its weirdness returned to normal, mostly, after the twins board the bus to go home after the proper ending, there's a brief stinger, a final scene, an image. And it's the in-universe episode of Gravity Falls as a tourist brochure, and somewhere in the fine print, barely visible, barely readable, there are coordinates, real coordinates. They describe a location in Oregon. Not the location of the Bill Cipher statue exactly, but a location associated with the show's mythology, a place that connects the fictional world to the real one. It's a small thing. It's a final invitation. The show says goodbye, and then immediately it points at the real world and says, there's still more. There is always still more. And so here we are, the end of 150 Easter eggs hidden inside one of the most carefully constructed, most generously layered, most secretly rewarding pieces of animated television ever made. We've been through the opening credits and the closing credits and everything in between. We've been through the ciphers and the codes and the reversed audio and the hidden numbers. We've visited the real-world places where real clues were left. We've decoded messages hidden in ink that only shows under blacklight, in binary on computer screens, in the branches and knots of trees photographed at the end of a forest. And yet, and this is important, we haven't found everything. Alex Hirsch has said in interviews that even now, after all these years and all this community attention, there are codes in Journal 3 that he hasn't seen anyone solve. There are details in the show that no one has publicly documented. The Book of Bill contains new ciphers that fans are still working through. The thing about a show that hides this much is that it never quite empties out. There's always another layer. There's always another decode waiting for someone patient enough to look. If you're still awake, thank you for the company. These woods are better with company. The pines are tall, and the night is deep, and somewhere in the distance, a 3-foot yellow triangle with a top hat is either completely defeated or about to return in a different form at a different time. And either way, the Mystery Shack is still standing, the attic windows are still lit, and inside those windows, two 12-year-old twins with the entire future ahead of them are figuring out everything that matters. The summer's not over yet. It never quite ends. If you've been here with me tonight, I'd love it if you liked and subscribed. It's free. It takes nothing from you, and it means the world to this channel. We're going to keep going into places like this. Deep, strange, quietly wonderful places. And if you want to be here when we do, subscribing is how you make sure you don't miss it. Drop a comment with your favorite Easter egg from tonight, or one I didn't cover that you love. Let's keep the conversation going. Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold and sleep well. I'll see you in the woods.